Increasingly, educators are being asked to move beyond the traditional notions of teaching a classroom or subject defined by a grade level. They are instead being asked to recognize that within today's classrooms are students of varying abilities. Further, educators are being asked to integrate within the mainstream classroom students that traditionally, due to their being at risk or having a learning disability or being labeled a behavioral problem, are not present. It is now estimated that in Canada, nearly 80% of children with mild or moderate disabilities are being educated in inclusive settings, according to Katz and Epp 2013. Katz and Ayla 2012, Witherspoon 2002, Katz and Epp 2013 have indicated that the goal is now for students to participate in the mainstream class and the larger diversity of the classroom. In our small rural remote school district, we have been challenged by our Board of Education to move towards the British Columbia Ministry of Education's new personalized learning initiative, and within that address the issue of having a separate junior alternate education program that at this point is not functioning effectively. We now recognize that within the junior alternate program we have three distinct student populations. One group that has little or no behavior problems but a learning disability. The second group that consists of students with mild to moderate behavior problems and a learning disability. Finally, a third group of students exhibiting moderate to extreme behavior problems and either a diagnosed or undiagnosed learning disability. Press, Kalansky, and Ronaldo 2010 define inclusion as a delivery model of offering a variety of delivery formats designed to educate students with disabilities in the general education environment. Others, such as Villa and Thousand 1995, see it more as a way of thinking or a value. Sotner 2008 defines it as inclusion of students with disabilities in the general education classrooms. Meanwhile, Brackenreed 2008 found educators spoke to the need and a belief in inclusion as it related to their notions of equality, but expressed concerns regarding its effects on regular classroom teachers, specifically the adequacy of teacher prep and issues of teacher workload. Pierce, Gray, and Campbell-Evans 2009 also elaborate on what the systematic needs are for an inclusive system to be successful. Knowledge of the curriculum they felt was key, and knowing how to adapt the material for all learners. Researchers also spoke to the need for teachers to have knowledge of the disabilities of their students in their care. There was a desire to see. Brianna Sotner supports what Pierce, Gray, and Campbell-Evans found. She summarized quite nicely the key characteristics essential for teachers to possess and the system to be built around. There had to be a commitment to high expectations. A common, consistent vision was vital, coupled with the time to collaborate. There was a desire to see if in fact the literature and research revealed the same or similar themes. The primary purpose of the study was to discover what would, including one or more of the segments of the junior alt population, allow for a more effective use of resources. Using a qualitative research approach, 10 staff members were either interviewed or were given questionnaires to fill out. It was very surprising that of the 10 staff members involved in the study, 8 suggested that the best course of action would be to integrate more often students that fell into the category of students with behavior problems and either a diagnosed or undiagnosed learning disability. However, later, when asked during the interview or filling out the questionnaire, there was ambiguity in that response. There was a variety of responses regarding necessary structures to move forward this type of timetabling. One respondent felt there needed to be a focus on a behavior incentive program. Similarly, another respondent felt that there needed to be a, quote, drop-in or resource area as a fallback position should the situation arise that integration was not working in either the short or long term, and that it also had to be based upon a behavior incentive program. Not surprisingly, classroom teachers took what viewed it as a hardline approach to inclusion or integration of any student with mild, medium, or severe problems. Respondents tended to view that clear protocols and policies needed to be in place with students that are preventing others from learning. Again, the notion of a fallback area was common in their responses. There was little clarity in the responses involving the roles of educational assistants, the classroom teacher, or the resource teacher. When asked what the role of the educational assistant should be in an integration program, responses ranged from supportive of the teacher and his or her program to being an advocate for the students with learning disabilities so the teacher was kept informed. Each of the groups has a different feeling about the idea of being more inclusive of the junior alt students next year. Classroom teachers tended to have a great deal of angst and firm beliefs that will not change the way they teach and will be the responsibility of the resource teacher to adapt the materials for the classroom teacher. The classroom teachers will need to support and see that the administration of the school is committed to this new timetable through providing collaboration within school hours. The individual who felt behaviorally challenged students should remain less integrated saw the main disadvantages being the challenge to recruit and retain individuals, quote, capable and skilled in running remediation programs. They also spoke to the notion that to truly get at what is being behind a child with significant behavioral issues requires a professional assessment, and that this model requires evaluation. Finally, with the last question of what teachers' concerns would be regarding the materials and programming, the teachers again took the opportunity to address who would be responsible for adapting and modifying the materials. The resource teacher is very excited about the program and the new timetable direction, and is very committed to working with classroom teachers to adapt and modify the materials. They will need support to bring the classroom and subject teachers alongside as partners in adapting and modifying materials, or I see the resource teacher quickly feeling overwhelmed and unsupported. Parents of both the mainstream and included students will need a great deal of support and constant communication. The few parents that provided input into our timetable for next year have already expressed trepidation that their sons' or daughters' learning will be impacted by students who in their words will, quote, waste the time of the teacher because of their behavior problems. The parents of students being included too are expressing trepidation, and their view of their child is very often a child that can be successful if given more time and attention. These parents view inclusion in a larger setting as one that will mean that their child will get left behind, or worse yet, stigmatized because they are doing different work different from the program's other students outside the program. The parents of the students being included too are expressing, my apologies. Ultimately, all staff have expressed an overall desire to work towards a goal of having an increasing sense of connectedness and belonging for all students. As Sotner 2008 points out, quote, inclusive and safe schools are a result of a continuous process. These schools that are constantly improving and